The ending of year 2023 has ongoing planetary transits that have set the stage for all the signs to rethink their plans and goals for the upcoming year 2024. This is a time period wherein if you work along with the retrograde energies, you will be able to uncover the hidden unresolved issues that could have been a roadblock to starting the new year on a clear and comprehensive note. As 2024 begins, we will have all planets be in direct motion, and most importantly, the benevolent planet Jupiter will be aspecting a cluster of transiting planets in its own ruled sign of Sagittarius, making it a lucky time to have positive reinforcement and recollection to make your New Year's resolutions and work on achieving them. Let us understand what is it that your zodiac sign must first work through and reconsider during this dual retrograde period to be able to manifest luck and abundance in the year of 2024. If you also want to understand how the most crucial transit of 2024 is going to be faring for your sign, then click on the video that appears on the right hand side of your screen, clicking the I button. Please for you reconsider your morals, your values, especially with regards to your religious, spiritual, and philosophical beliefs, as well as understand how they interlink within forming an integral part of your identity and your purpose as well. Because correspondence between retrograde Jupiter and retrograde Mercury, and also conjunction of planets like Sun, the sign of Sagittarius, will set a stage wherein you have to be able to make discernible decisions regarding what sort of ideals do you want to be taking forward with you in the coming year, as well as also with regards to your educational prospects and what kind of incentives and what sort of initiatives are you taking to further your knowledge and your capabilities are also to be explored within this constraint of understanding how these retrograde planets are impacting each other's significations. We also see that Saturn will be impacting Venus and Mars through its 10th aspect. And this is where you will have to understand the fact that drives and passion that you are currently exploring within the prospect of being able to materialize exponential gains, though they may come about in a sudden fashion, but because Saturn is basically restraining that sort of unpredictable nature of such gains to be made, you have to be able to be realistic with how you are going to plan to be able to make your financial gains exponential in a way which is, rather than being solely dependent on the unpredictable and risk factor of financial instruments, but rather to be more inclined with a systematic and methodical approach with how you want to be gaining your profits from even other people's resources and capitalizing on those sort of ideals by sharing your resources with someone, or being able to extract the benefit that you need to be able to receive from such pooling of resources to be made. So these are the kind of things that you have to be able to contemplate and figure out, because going forward, as soon as January 1st begins and the new year starts, we will have both of these retrograde planets become direct. So most of all the planets for a short duration of time are going to be all influenced by the most benefic planet Jupiter within the sign that it rules, which is Sagittarius, and all the planets being influenced by it. So it's a very positive direction and a way to be able to accelerate further within your initiatives and your dreams, how you want to be taking them forward with you as a means of formulating realistic goals for 2024. For you, Taurus, during this time period, we see that retrograde Jupiter will be impacting retrograde Mercury, Sun through the sign of Sagittarius, and this is where in this time period you will have to materialize and understand how you are able to really capitalize and figure out a way to be able to formulate a direction within the sort of, firstly, the kind of education prospects you could have undertaken to understand what is the viability of being able to go deeper into those concepts and being able to materialize those hypotheses or that research into concluding concrete fashion regarding what sort of results do you want to achieve from those efforts. And this goes even when it comes to any sort of esoteric knowledge that you could have undertaken within this time period, wherein this interest to understand more about certain spiritual or philosophical concepts might have taken place, wherein now is the time period wherein you can sit back and think about possibly formulating and implicating and imbibing these kind of knowledge and theories within your perspective of looking at life as well, and how to deal with uncertainties and losses uh, through being able to navigate these concepts within the realm of your knowledge and your spirituality. And this is also a time period wherein you have to be able to rethink your approach when it comes to your investments and how you are looking at being able to basically formulate a strategy to be able to not be too uncertain when it comes to the kind of losses and gains your uh, finances are basically inculcating at this point, because there is a prospect wherein, because of some sudden changes and the kind of unexpected events taking place, it becomes difficult for you to be able to track and understand what sort of uh, finances to be able to double down on in order to make the best profits. And hence, somewhere in that confusion and that sort of mystery with regards to the outcome, you basically lead down a path of facing losses more than you originally expected. So, this is a time period wherein you have to overcome that uncertainty and to be able to be certain with regards to your financial decisions, especially to be able to ward off the chances and the kind of circumstances being created when it comes to facing losses. Also, we see that Saturn is going to be putting its 10th aspect onto Venus and Mars during this time period, wherein you will have to reconsider how your image and how you are able to basically not be rigid and obsessive when it comes to your public image, and rather than that being a constraint that holds you back from being able to really formulate connections. This is a time period wherein you have to be able to let go of the fears of people's judgment and be able to interacting with people, formulating better relations with them, and having an equalized equilibrium when it comes to formulating and expounding on the sort of connections that you have formulated during this time period or even before that, so that you have a sort of rationale wherein whatever sort of dynamics you are currently cultivating with your romantic partners or even your business partnerships are going to be much more equalized in their power exchange, as well as this is going to be able to how you want to practically implement your career as well as even your business ideas when it comes to working in conjunction with other people and formulating that sort of community or that sort of collaboration with other people. And these are the kind of things that you have to be able to figure out and channelize so that you are able to move in a forward momentum as soon as January 1st happens, and the new year starts, so that you are able to have the best sort of outcome come about from the direct motion of all the planets, help accelerate your plans and be able to give you the best start to your new year. Geminis, for you, this is going to be a time period wherein retrograde Jupiter will be impacting retrograde Mercury as well as Sun, and this will basically create a sort of energetic exchange within your 11th house and your 7th house. So this is a time period wherein you will have to be able to understand how you are connecting with people on the basis of shared morals and values, especially when it comes to your religious, spiritual, or philosophical beliefs and ideals. And this is where you will have to understand what sort of notion or stand do you want to take when it comes to having similarities within the kind of connections you make on the basis of such shared values and such shared systems of beliefs as well, because this is going to be impacting not just your network circles and friends, but also how you connect with your romantic partners as well as your business partners. So this is a time period wherein there has to be an overlook of how you're able to imbibe the best sort of opportunities and knowledge from your partners, and how it is essential for you to be able to sort of have a cleanse in the system of the kind of people you have around you, to be able to really push yourself towards the best possible ways of accumulating your dreams and your ambitions. So this time period is for you to be able to reconsider all the steps that you're taking when it comes to being able to collaborate with the right people, to be able to further your dreams and your aspirations in the best way possible. We also see that Saturn will be impacting Venus and Mars, and thus formulating a sort of connection within your 9th house and your 6th house when it puts its 10th aspect onto these planets. So we understand from this phenomena that you are going to be right now open to exploring some sort of realistic expectation when it comes to how you want to be really channelizing your own set of belief systems and your values within the sense of healing that you want to be undertaking right now. And rather than it just being a conceptual reality, there has to be some sort of actionable steps that need to be traced in order to find the best realistic and actionable steps through a set of analysis which is undertaken by critical thinking of the kind of practices and the ideals that you're expounding on right now for a sense of healing and competency in your life at this point of time. But this also kind of translates into being able to explore and materialize on some sort of qualifications educationally that you can undertake when it comes to being able to structure your work opportunities and your work environment in a way that is beneficial to you, rather than being detrimental to the sense of being dependent on other people's whims and fancies. More so being able to steer how you are going to be putting in your effort within your education and work, and how that is going to materialize your expected outcomes in accordance with your own expectations, rather than just being able to follow other people's created opportunities or circumstances and dealing with that at the stage where you're just exposed to such circumstances. So these are the kind of things that you have to expound on and to be able to understand and narrow down, because as soon as January starts and we will have the direct motion of all the planets, this is where you will have the most benefic planet Jupiter almost impacting all the signs, almost impacting all the planets at that time period initially when all of them will be in a positive conjunction within the sign of Sagittarius, and this will bring forth a very positive start to your year. So take this time to basically formulate and think through these things and have a set sort of direction and goal when it comes to starting your next year on a positive note. Cancers, for you, we see that retrograde Jupiter will be impacting your retrograde Mercury and Sun, and this is going to basically formulate a sort of interconnection within your 10th and your 6th house. And both of these houses are related to your career. So this definitely goes to show the fact that you are going to have to be able to really materialize and understand what direction your career is taking, what sort of opportunities you are being provided, and how it is really impacting a sort of expansion within your own responsibilities, proficiency, and productivity within your work sphere. This is also a time period wherein, in case you have some sort of aspirations to be able to succeed and further yourself within your work sphere when it comes to your sense of responsibility and promotion and things like that, you will have to take into consideration the fact that there needs to be some sort of elevation within your skills and knowledge. And this is a time period wherein you will have to reconsider your current sense and set of skills and further understand how you can work on those to be able to really materialize the sense of accomplishment and acknowledgement that you want to achieve within your work sphere. This also goes to show that you will also have to kind of understand how your public image is even impacting your work relations, and how working on cultivating better relationships with people can help a sort of goodwill within the kind of interactions you have with the people you work, and that can further help you to be able to not just create a better work product because of having a harmony within your work culture and your working group and team, but also being able to further your own incentives and your own sort of aspirations. We also see that Saturn will be impacting Venus and Mars through its 10th aspect, and this will basically formulate a sort of connection within your 8th and your 5th house, and this goes to show that you are going to have to be able to really ground yourself within any sort of extenuating circumstances that seem to be sudden and unexpected, and rather than being swept away with that tidal force of being uncertain about the kind of things that are happening within your environment, you will have to be able to understand how to best formulate strategies to stabilize how you are able to deal with these circumstances. And rather than being on the forefront and offensive while trying to deal with such issues through your ego and your wants and needs, to be able to really materialize and funnel down what are your necessities, because this is definitely going to be implied in the terms of your finances and how you are investing. And rather than just being able to completely double down on your risk factors and structures of speculative investment, you will have to be able to stabilize a sense of being able to differentiate within your necessities and your needs and wants. So this is where you will have to understand and work with the energies of these planets, because as soon as 2024 starts and all the planets are going to be direct, the most beneficial planet, which is Jupiter, is going to be impacting a cluster of planets within its own sign of Sagittarius, and this is going to put a very positive and beneficial start for you in the next year. So have an analysis of all these aspects before you start the new year to be able to begin it on the most positive note. For you Leos, we see that retrograde Jupiter is going to be putting its aspect onto the retrograde Mercury and Sun, and this is basically going to initiate a contact within your ninth and your fifth house. Initiate a sense of rethinking and rekindling. Understand what sort of knowledge and what sort of learning that you need to achieve to be able to refine and reorder belief systems when it comes to your morals and values regarding your religious, spiritual, and philosophical beliefs. And this is where you will have to understand how these concepts interplay within even your sense of self and your interests and values and the sense of direction that you currently seek within your life through the expounding and exploration of these concepts. You need to be able to discern and understand whom and how to imbibe this knowledge from in order to not get deceived or disrupted within your journey of exploring these concepts in the best way possible. This also goes to show that there is a sense of rethinking or rekindling your want of being able to explore some sort of educational prospects wherein you will have to be able to probably understand if you want to interlink your knowledge and learning with your creative pursuits and interests. And this is where you will have to understand interlink of energies created within the aspect of these two retrograde planetary energies. We also see that Saturn will be putting its 10th aspect onto Venus and Mars, and hence creating a synergy within your 7th house and your 4th house. And this goes to show that you are going to understand and be realistic with regards to your partnerships and how you are going to stabilize your romantic as well as your business partnerships in a way that rather than seeking comfort, familiarity, peace of mind, stability within those structures and relations, you will have to be able to really eviscerate a sense of individuality within those structures so that you are able to have a very structured and realistic sense of what you really seek from those connections, and rather than depending on such said relations, you will have to be able to what it is that you really seek in these sort of connections and partnerships, and how that interlinks with your need to be able to experience a sense of familiarity, comfort, and peace, not just through these connections but also devoid of those connections. So, creating a sense of equilibrium and stability within your own nervous and emotional systems and your reactions. So, this is a time period wherein you will have to rethink and understand how all these planetary energies are basically asking you to work upon these ideals so that once 2024 starts and we will have the direct motion of all the planets, we will see that Jupiter, which is the most benefic planet, will be impacting most of the planets together in the sign that it itself rules, which is Sagittarius, and hence creating the best center stage for you to be able to have a very positive and benevolent start to the new year. Virgos, for you, we see that retrograde Jupiter will be aspecting retrograde Mercury and Sun, and by this it formulates a sort of energy exchange within your 8th house and your 4th house. And this goes to show that this is a time period for you to reconsider how you approach emotional health and well-being with regards to how to be able to adapt to any sort of uncertain or sudden sort of developments that take place, which can feel a little overwhelming or challenging to your nervous system. So, in a way to understand and learn how to better regulate yourself in times of hardships or situations which seem to be out of your control, This also shows the fact that you have to dig deeper into yourself to understand certain hidden parts of yourself, to be able to bring forth a sort of illumination and knowledge to that part of you, wherein you can start to probably cull into some sort of occult sciences and things which bring you a sense of more enlightenment to deal with uncertainties and be able to deal with transformations in a much more spiritually inclined way as well. And this can help you to better regulate your emotions and your nervous system with regards to how to deal with these issues. We also see that Saturn will be putting its 10th aspect onto Venus and Mars, and this will be creating a connection within your 6th and 3rd house. And this goes to show the fact that you are right now in a phase where you will have to work hard towards being able to really materialize and actualize the kind of hard work that you're doing right now in terms of your career. And this is a time period wherein you will have to be very realistic when it comes to the fact that how your hard work or your efforts are really being able to catalyze into the sort of results or the opportunities that you are wishing to cultivate from effort. And this is where you will also have to understand that with regards to any sort of issues, especially in terms of your health, and also some sort of legal issues or some sort of tensions within your work environment, it is extremely essential for you to be able to have a open communicational channel with authorities in terms of any sort of competitive discourse within your workspace. It is challenges that you're facing. It is essential for you to understand how to be able to communicate about those things, because half of the battle is won once you're able to talk about your hardships and probably be able to come to a consensus. These are the things that you have to work through to be able to have a positive beginning for your year of 2024, because as soon as the year begins, we will have all the planets in a direct motion, and most of them will be very positively influenced by the most benefic planet, which is Jupiter, as most of the planets will come into a conjunction within Sagittarius. So, to be able to be ready to accelerate into the new year with a positive connotation and putting your best foot forward. Libras, for you, we see that retrograde Jupiter will be putting its aspect onto retrograde Mercury and Sun, and this will be creating a connection between your 7th house and your 3rd house. And this goes to show that there is going to be a prospect wherein you will have to come to terms with how you want to deal with your relationships and basically be able to create an equilibrium between the amount of efforts that you feel like you are putting in and the result which is being cultivated as a means of being in that sort of dynamic or relationship. And this does not just go on for the sort of romantic connections or liaisons that you have, but also for any sort of business partnerships that you cultivate. And it is essential to be able to have an open channel of communication with your partners to be able to really narrow down any sort of challenges that you're facing, to be able to be on the same terms and on the same page, and also to be able to really cull out if there are any inequalities within justifiable effort that both of the sides are putting into the maintaining of the scales within sort of dynamics in the relationship. It is essential to be able to talk about those things. Otherwise, misunderstandings and those sort of regrets keep growing, and that is not going to be constructive for you. So keep an open channel of communication. Be able to really critically analyze what sort of efforts are being put through both of the sides of that equation, and figure out the best way possible for you to be able to cultivate and grow in that sort of partnership for the coming year as well. we also see that Saturn will be putting its 10th aspect onto Venus and Mars, and this will basically cultivate an energy interlink within your fifth house and your second house. And this definitely goes to show that when it comes to being able to really find your foot within understanding your personality and your values, it becomes quite essential to let go of the sense of fear that you cultivate within the self worth that you have with regards to the kind of convictions and the kind of values that you hold dear to yourself, and to be able to realize what are the obstructions which are coming into really being able to materialize those things, because that element of shame or unworthiness can also boil down into your ability to be able to really manifest your financial gains and the kind of profits that you want to be making. Hence, this is the kind of energy wherein you will have to reconsider how you are letting certain issues with regards to self worth and some sort of connections with your interests and creativity even impact your financial ability to be able to materialize abundance and security for your finances. And this can also go to show that when it comes to your familial relations, it's extremely important to be able to everyone in the same spirit of having similar values, similar sort of crux or the heart of the issue with regards to family should be resolved in a way wherein the values can be, if they are contradictory, can be mitigated and figured out to be peaceful in contention as it can be. And this is important so that you go into the new year with a positive sort of connotation when it comes to your romantic relationships as well as your familial relationships. And these are the kind of themes that you will have to be able to discern and understand during the time period, so that once all this positive energy begins in the year 2024, you're able to deal with it by resolving these kind of contentions and issues, and hence have a best possible beginning to your new year. Scorpios, for you, we see that retrograde Jupiter will be putting its aspect on retrograde Mercury and Sun, while creating a sort of connection within your sixth and second house. And this goes to show that there is an interlink right now with connection to your finances and your debts. So, in order for you to be able to stabilize your income, be able to have a secure sort of corpus when it comes to your finances, it is extremely important for you to be able to really diligently understand the kind of financial liabilities you are currently under. So, when it comes to some sort of debts or loans that you have undertaken, it is essential for you to understand how to mitigate and be able to repay those things methodically, so that it does not impact any sort of secure finances that you have allotted for any contingency sort of situations. And this also goes to show that in case there are any sort of challenges when it comes to how you are dealing with your workplace situations, wherein there can be some sort of disturbances or any challenges when it comes to having a harmonious environment. This definitely goes to show that you will have to deal with those issues in a way that rather than just skimping over and not addressing the situation, it is extremely important that you are able to have an evaluation of whatever is currently impacting your work progress and product, and to be able to have a efficient communication to be able to resolve those issues or to be able to find a solution to the best effort you can, rather than just being able to figure out a way to deal with it in an isolated fashion. It is extremely important that you have an open sense of communication when it comes to understanding what can be the best way forward when it comes to those issues. This also has an implication when it comes to your familial disputes, and this is where the best possible way to have a resolution is to really go back to understanding your familial values and authenticity, and that can help you to further mitigate any sort of discrepancies within your relationships as well. We also see that Saturn will be putting its 10th karmic aspect onto your first house with Venus and Mars. So, this goes to show that you are going to definitely have a sense of dealing with your family in a very methodical way rather than being able to address the situation emotionally in a way where it is more reactive. You'll have to take a step back and in a very reliable and mature way at times, which can seem to be a little detached as well. You will have to compound and understand what sort of ways can you best be able to understand how you want to be moving forward when it comes to especially your emotional regulation and your nervous system regulation, because these kind of challenges within your family can put a dampener on your psyche and your health. So this is a time period wherein you will have to understand what is the best way possible to address those issues in a way that helps you to have a much more clarity regarding your purpose, your life path at this point, and not to get jumbled up with just being able to deal with either be it as familial sort of issues or the kind of issues that you can possibly also be facing with regards to your work environment. So these are the kind of instances which you have to work through and to be able to funnel down, so that once January begins and year of 2024 starts, we will have all the planets to be direct at that point of time, and also the most benevolent planet Jupiter will be aspecting most of the planets in its own ruling sign of Sagittarius. So this is a time period to rethink all these contentions so that you can put your best foot forward when the new year starts. For you, Sagittarius, we see that retrograde Jupiter will be putting its aspect onto retrograde Mercury and Sun, and this will be creating a connection within your fifth and first house. So this goes to show that during this time period, you will have to take into contention the fact that there are certain changes which are happening ideologically within your personality and how you perceive things. And this can have a change even within the sense of morality and values that you hold with connection to your religious, spiritual, or philosophical beliefs and values. And this is where you will have to understand that there can be some monumental changes and transformations which are taking place within your life purpose, within your perspective, within the kind of purpose that you are currently seeking out in life. And this can be a time period wherein some sort of learnings or some sort of education that you have or knowledge that you've imbibed through some sort of learnings and readings can be right now making you reconsider goals or image that you had sought for yourself. And this is the time period for you to really cull out and be able to iron out all the details with regards to what are your next stage and steps forward, because this is a time period wherein you can understand that if there are some changes which need to be made for you to feel more comfortable with where you are currently, there can be some learning, some sort of courses, some sort of educational prospects that you can undertake which can help you better to acclimatize and be able to accentuate on the sort of interests and probably some creative pursuits or some sort of educational perspectives that you're looking into, to be able to feel that you are progressing at the best pace possible for yourself. We also see that Saturn will be putting its 10th aspect onto Venus and Mars, and this will be impacting and connecting your third house and your 12th house. So this definitely goes to show the fact that you are currently in a space where you have to take a realistic look at the sort of hard work that you're putting behind these learnings, this sort of new direction that you want to take, and how that is really able to manifest into the kind of results that you're wishing for it to manifest. And this is when you have to take a very objective and realistic look at how your efforts are panning out, or if they are just leading to some sort of losses where you cannot see that in the longer run there is some upside to undertaking those risks or undertaking that sort of extreme effort with regards to elevating or being able to chase behind the aspirations. So take a very level headed look with regards to what your losses can be, in terms if you really want to pursue some sort of creative passion. Can you really be able to weather out the financial stress it might put onto your resources, and how you're able to mitigate those sort of situations, and also be able to have constructive communication with people around you so that they can also guide you in a better way, rather than just being isolated and not being able to really understand or communicate with regards to what are the situations or the changes that you're at this point going through. Because once 2024 begins and all the planets will be in direct motion, we will have the most benefic planet, which is Jupiter, be aspecting most of the planets, which will be in its own ruling sign of Sagittarius. And this will create a very benevolent and positive energy for you to channelize a lot of your aspirations and dreams, and to understand what are your next steps forward. So be able to first understand and rethink over all these contentions so that you can put your best foot forward in the coming year of 2024. For you, Capricorn, we see that during this time period, retrograde Jupiter will be putting its aspect onto retrograde Mercury and Sun, and hence this will be connecting your 4th house and your 12th house. And this goes to show that there can be this sense of feeling overwhelmed when it comes to certain sort of contentions and dealing with some sort of concepts with regards to loss and isolation. And this is where you will have to understand how you will be able to deal with issues with regards to feeling isolated, with regards to feeling overwhelmed when it comes to certain losses that can be out of your hand. And this is where you will have to really channelize into your emotional and nervous system and health and regulation, so that you're able to really understand how to make the best out of the situation that you are currently dealt with. And this is a time period wherein you can also understand how your values are being impacted by your family, and probably also be able to understand some sort of guidance or some sort of similarities within the kind of value systems that you share with them, so that probably they'll be also able to help you to tide this time better. But rather than depending on others, it is important that you take a look inwards and try to really understand how these things are impacting you. Understand internally what is going on, what are your holdups, what is basically restricting your emotional or even your financial growth. And it is important to be able to resolve first your internal conflicts to be able to really move forward during this time period. And we also see that you will have Saturn be aspecting your Venus and Mars, and this will be connecting your 2nd and 11th house. And this also goes to show that you will have to take a very realistic look at your finances and how you are dealing with stabilizing and securing your financial corpus, so that rather than just being in the heat to increase your financial gains and to be able to monopolize on the sort of connections that you have, to turn them into better opportunities for financial growth, for some sort of dreams and aspirations to come true, it is important that you first go down to the root level and understand how you are balancing out on both of those aspects, not just being completely risk taking or being completely risk avoidant or averse, and understand how to balance those two equations. And probably this can also be helped with your family's input and how basically their value systems and finances are, so they can also guide you with regards to these challenges that you're currently going through or the kind of contentions you're facing during this time period. And this is extremely important for you to be able to figure out the best way possible to deal with these conflicts, because once 2024 starts and we will have all the planets going direct, it is going to be a center stage wherein a lot of positive and benevolent energy will be expounding, because we will have Jupiter aspecting most of the planets in its own ruled sign of Sagittarius. And this will basically create a very positive energy for you to be able to have the best foot forward in the new coming year. So be able to understand how to resolve these issues before you start to understand and pick out your resolutions for the coming year. For you, Aquarius, during this time period, we see that retrograde Jupiter will be putting its aspect on to retrograde Mercury as well as Sun, and this will be connecting your third house and your 11th house. So, this definitely goes to show the fact that you are right now in a stage wherein you will have to reconsider the efforts that you're putting into being able to materialize your financial gains and be able to accelerate or be able to have that sort of exponential increase in your financial abilities, because rather than just putting a gas pedal behind having this one way ticket or a one way vision to creating that sort of abundance, it is extremely important that you have a realistic understanding of what are the skills that you need to be able to not just put all your eggs in one basket, but to be able to diversify your efforts in a way that you are being secured at both of those ends, or how many ever resources that you want to cultivate that sort of abundance from. So rather than just being all in on something, understanding or belief within the kind of influence that even other people are putting onto you to be able to impact your finances is important, to be able to really decipher your internal dialogue right now. And rather than just being able to rely on a certain set of people, it is important that you widen out your circle of influence, your circle of communication, so that you're able to have that exchange of ideas and that advice that you probably want to seek right now from people is achieved from a much larger and diverse pool of people. And you also have to take a realistic understanding of how your efforts are materializing and being able to create the sort of results that you want to in terms of not just finances but also networking and the kind of influence that you are able to exert on people and be influenced by as well. We also see that Saturn will be putting its 10th aspect onto your 10th house, and this will create a connection within your first and your 10th house. And this definitely goes to show the fact that you are going to be in a space where when Saturn aspects Venus and Mars in your 10th house, you are right now inclined to understand how your persona can even impact your public image, especially when it comes to how you are representing yourself within your purpose and your profession. And this is where you will have to take a very realistic understanding of what your goals are, what your purpose is, and how are you really faring in being able to achieve those things professionally, and being able to turn your work environment and your work product into something that seems fulfilling to you, not just on the sphere or the center of just work life, but also being able to feed the kind of direction and purpose that you want to be taking right now within the given circumstances. And also to be able to understand what and how your public image is really impacting the sense of responsibility and accountability that you are currently seeking within your purpose and your profession as well. And these are the kind of things you will have to be able to narrow down and rework through, because as 2024 begins and there will be a direct motion of all the planets, we will see a surge in positive energy as most benevolent planet Jupiter will be putting its aspect onto almost all the planets, which will be transiting through its own ruled sign of Sagittarius. And hence, this is a time period wherein you will be able to take progress with leaps and bounds. So, to be prepared for that and to put your best foot forward in the new year. Pisces, for you, we see that retrograde Jupiter will be putting its aspect onto retrograde Mercury and Sun. And thus, it will be impacting and creating a sort of connection within your second house and your 10th house. This goes to show that this is a time period wherein you will have to reconsider how your efforts are basically materializing within your professional structure, and how that is in turn being able to really help you to reach the kind of financial goals that you have probably set for yourself. Creating that sort of equilibrium or stability within your finances is extremely important for you to be able to really feel secure within your professional prospects, and how you are dealing with your work, and how you want to be able to materialize and be able to work through the sense of values and the sense of contentions that you have when it comes to being able to be proficient within your work sphere and feeling fulfilled within the kind of efforts and proficiency that you're able to express within that environment as well. And this is also a time period wherein you will probably have to take a look at what sort of educational prospects that you have to take to understand how to create those sort of financial opportunities for yourself, with regards to not just depending on, let's say, one sort of stream of income, but probably also being able to diversify your income in terms of being able to really hone in on the skills that you have and what sort of values that you have, especially when it comes to finances, and how you are able to match up to the kind of ideals that you had set for yourself, the goals that you wanted to achieve financially during this year, with terms of how you are putting the work and how basically your efforts have materialized into the sort of profits that you wanted to be making during this time period. We also see that Saturn will be putting its 10th aspect onto Venus and Mars, and this will be connecting your 12th house and your 9th house. And this goes to show that there is a prospect of you wanting to be able to really not feel like an escapist or an isolated person when it comes to dealing with the challenges that you are being put through right now, and be able to have a very realistic and reliant sense of understanding with what it is that you really need to do in order to be able to not just be facing losses on one end, but also being able to understand how to work through those things if they are not in your hand, and probably to understand what sort of skills that you need to undertake, or what sort of guidance do you need to be put into contention when it comes to understanding how to face your challenges head on right now, rather than being able to disassociate from your situation. It's important that you take circumstances that you are currently exposed to and be able to cull out and figure out ways that you can upskill your ability to deal with certain issues, especially when it also comes to your finances, and how you are able to take on the prospect of losses, and not just dealing with financial growth, but also being able to understand how to upskill yourself to deal with financial losses as well, and how to recover those losses in the best way possible. And this is where these contentions need to be thought through and funneled and figured out, because once 2024 begins, we will have a surge of positive energy as all the planets will become direct, and we will also have the most benevolent planet, which is Jupiter, putting its aspect onto almost all the planets which will be present in the sign of Sagittarius at that point. So this will create a very positive energy for you to manifest the kind of changes or the kind of positive intentions that you want to achieve for yourself in the coming year. So make sure that you first deal through all these challenges or the kind of mindset that you need to be able to reset while understanding how to move and put your best foot forward in the coming year. And with discussing all these personalized predictions, I come to the end of this video. If you found relevance and resonance to the predictions shared, then please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as until the new year, we will now be discussing yearly predictions for all zodiac signs. So stay tuned for it, and I will see you soon with the next video. Until then, take care, you all.